Wonderful fellowship. I'm so glad everyone is here and happy to see everybody else. It's really, really thrilling to see so many of you out in support of history. Welcome to the DeKalb History Center. I am the executive director. I'm Melissa Carlson, and this is our 15th annual Black History Month celebration. For those of you who don't know, we are a nonprofit, membership-based organization that collects, preserves, and shares the history, the wide-ranging history of the people and stories of DeKalb County. We have many members here today, so we would like to thank those of you for your support, your continued membership, and if you're not a member, you can talk to Marissa or anyone with a name tag can help you a little bit. We'd love to have you be a part of us. There is so much gratitude to go around today, and I am happy to share it, but it's a lot of names, so we're very happy for you guys. I want to recognize our dedicated and enthusiastic board members and trustees who offer year-round support. Would those of you who are here please stand for recognition? Yes. Awesome. And we are so grateful to Tiffany Parks here. You've gotten to know and love her over the years. She has created another amazing program. Year after year, she has devoted her time, energy, and imagination to provide valuable history content that becomes deeply meaningful when illustrated with song and script. We remain profoundly grateful for your contributions, Tiffany, seriously. A very special thank you goes out to two signature presenters this year, the Decatur Tourism Bureau at the Decatur Welcome Center and Discover DeKalb. We are really delighted to have your sponsorship. And I extend a heartfelt thank you to our 6 amazing Guardian level sponsors. They include the City of Brookhaven, the City of Chamblee, the City of Dunwoody, Friendship Baptist Church, Judge Bedelia C. Hargrove, and Judge Ronald Ramsey. And we were also blessed to have a record number of historian sponsors this year. Those include Agnes Scott College, the City of Decatur, Deborah DeBerry, DeKalb County Clerk of Superior Court, Decatur Development Authorities, Emory Alliance Credit Union, Catherine Mullins, New South Associates, Steel Program Managers, Stone Mountain Memorial Association, and Deborah and Harold Van Broekhoven. Please refer to your program for additional sponsors. We also have more than a few elected officials to recognize, and I will ask that as I call your name, that you are a representative, please stand up. And please, if everyone would hold your applause till the end. We are, of course, delighted to have DeKalb CEO Michael Thurmond here today. We are also, and we are also really grateful to have a number of DeKalb's esteemed judges or their representatives. Judge Bedelia C. Hargrove, Judge Ronald Ramsey, Friends and Family, I believe, and Judge Tangela Berry. Also, we have Deborah DeBerry, DeKalb's Clerk of Superior Court. We have phenomenal support from mayors who may be here today. Decatur's Mayor Patty Garrett, Mayor of Chamblee Brian Mock, and Dunwoody Mayor Lynn Deutsch. And we have further representation from Brookhaven Councilman John Funny, DeKalb County Sheriff Melody Maddox, and DeKalb County Commissioner for District 4, Steve Bradshaw. We are delighted to have you here. If there's an elected official I have somehow left out, please stand for recognition. Phew. Oh, yay. Welcome. Thank you so much. So let's give all of our officials a round of applause, but include some of that for yourself and for all of these people in this room who get out and vote every single year. All right? Now, please join me in welcoming the creator of today's event and an ex officio DHC board member to the podium, Tiffany Parks.
You guys know my name is Tiffany Parks. And let me just say, I am so happy to see you guys. I am so happy to see this room full. COVID hopefully is, going away from us. And welcome to the 15th annual Black History Month celebration. I just want to take a second to thank all of you who gave to make this program possible. Thank you to the sponsors and board members and the people who gave out of your way to solicit others as well. Thank you, Melissa, for your leadership and your dedication to bringing diverse programming to DeKalb County. The title of this year's program is Black Church Music, a Soul-Stirring History. And with all the craziness in the world, guys, we need to hear some music that's going to serve souls in a positive way, right? We're going to need it. I mean, really. Now, our illustrious, amazing moderator for the event is Ms. LaDoris Davis, and our award-winning singer is Mr. Kenneth Lowe. Please read their full bios in your program. And at this time, I will introduce our opening speaker. And if you live in DeKalb, our CEO needs no introduction. It's our beloved CEO, Michael Thurmond. He already he was elected to the office in a landslide victory in 2016. You guys remember that? A landslide victory? Here are just a few examples. Thurmond was a member of the Georgia General Assembly and the first African American elected to a statewide office without prior appointment. He led the Georgia Division of Family and Children Services, the Georgia Department of Labor, and the DeKalb County School District. He graduated cum laude with a BA in philosophy and religion from Payne College and later earned a Juris Doctorate degree from the University of South Carolina School of Law. He is also a published author of a history book. Mr. Thurmond, CEO Thurmond loves history, you guys. Read his books. I'm serious. He loves history. Recognized by the Georgia Historical Society and avid supporter of history programs. Please join me in welcoming DeKalb CEO Michael Thurmond to the podium.
Good morning. First, thank you, Tiffany, for the kind words of introduction, but more importantly, thank you for your vision, your dedication, and your leadership in making sure that our culture and our heritage and our history continues to be celebrated and lifted up. Let's give Tiffany a round of applause. You're such a wonderful person. Melissa and the History Center, you all are phenomenal. A wonderful partner and a great resource here in our county. One more round of applause for Tiffany and the History Center. Melissa, and Tiffany never stops working. And while I was waiting to be introduced, she solicited me. And let me add one more signature sponsor, the DeKalb CEO Michael Thurmond's office of $5,000. Congratulations to the wonderful musicians and others who will present today, and thank you all for being here. Black history, African American history is American history. We can all celebrate, we can all learn, and we can all share. As Tiffany mentioned, I've basically given my adult life. Y'all know I got this day job as CEO, but if you really knew who I really was, I am a historian. I love to research and I love to write about Georgia history in particular church history. And through faith, through the music, African Americans and others have been able to survive enslavement, segregation, racism, and arrive at this point. And not just with ourselves, but through faith, we've been able to fight the good fight with our friends and allies and to make real the American dream. And no matter how difficult the day or dark the hour, we know that this music that Du Bois referred to as the sorrow songs, we know that in the most difficult days, we were able to sing and to pray and to celebrate. Through this music and through our faith, we've been able, myself and others like me, to make this march from a sharecropper son in Clark County, Georgia, to CEO of DeKalb County, Georgia. Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Now, my friends in the back Baptist church know just what that means, right? So when I count to three, I want all you all who are here today, of God's grace, to repeat with me. Won't he do it? 1, 2, 3. Won't he do it? Thank y'all so much.
About to have church up in here.
Where I come from, they said, we about to have church. For those of you who have never had the black church experience, you are in for a lesson today. First of all, the black church is a very special place. It was the only place, the one place, where blacks could achieve greatness without the barriers of racism and segregation. Out of the black church came the music that saved the world. Jazz, rap, and even rock and roll came out of black music. Now, no matter how I'm feeling, I can think of a church song that inspires me. When I'm feeling blessed, this is what I like to hear.
Never could have made it. Never would have made it without you. I would have lost it all. Now I see how you there for me. I can say, never would have made it. Never could have made it without you. I would have lost it all. Now I see how you there for me, and I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'm better, so much better. When I look back over my life, now I see how you there for me.
Amen. Can you all hear him okay? Can you all hear him okay? When people start working my nerve, have you ever had that happen? This is what I like to hear.
Now, don't move my mountain. The strength you lie, and Lord, don't take away my stumbling block, but lead me all around. Oh, Lord, don't move my mountain, but give me the strength you lie, and Lord, don't take away my stumbling block, but lead me all around.
And when I look around at the craziness of the world, this is what I want to hear. This is what I need.
The way you have all day, night, each day, each day, each day,
is something that impresses you about the Black church. But here's what I want to say real quickly. Any self-respecting church woman has a purse, which we call a pocketbook. Y'all know about that? And she has in it a handkerchief, we call it handkerchief, and some. How many of y'all ever pepper? Now, about the Black church, I can tell you right now, this is a church thing. Raise your hand, you all. Raise up your hands. This is why they on the table. It may not look plain, but plans are an extension of praise. If songs fill you with the Holy Ghost, you use this fan to express joy. Now, I'm going to do some fan editing. So this is the high fan. Come on, y'all. This is the fast fan. This is the bless my soul fan. This is my grandmother's motherboard fan. Y'all got the fan editing. So we will come back to y'all and don't be afraid to raise your hand and raise your hand. Take a minute and just think about it. So now we are going to introduce our first award-winning author, our sought-after keynote speaker and historian. And you can read her bio in the program. So let's welcome and let's raise our hands for Ms. Fenton.
Thank you. Welcome. How's everybody doing? Okay, because we can actually said have some church in here. When Tiffany called me and said, I want you to speak about the Black church, and I want you to do it in 10 minutes. I said, baby, one of our songs in church will last 10 minutes. Oh, you get the soloist happy, you get the choir happy, the preacher's got to come back happy. The organist is going to hit that note, and everybody's going to start shouting. So 10 minutes per song, mark that down. I'm sure you can attest that Black church music must be felt as well as sung. It has to have a feeling. Feeling is even more important than the voice. And we encourage our congregants to get involved in choirs. We have the children's choir, the juniors choir, the young adult choir, the adult choir, and the senior choir. So you get in where you fit in. Church folks know that the choir is the pastor's best friend. We can start up a song to match his sermon. Somebody said impromptu. Gotta be ready if you're a choir. And also, the choir is the pastor's biggest challenge. He will always say, Lord, is there something going on in the choir? She sang my song. He played it too slow. I should be choir director this time. But at the end of the day, we all come together because music is important in the Black church. A white minister in Texas learned that. He started a church, predominantly Black congregation, and there was no choir. They said to him, if you want us to stay, we need a choir. They got a choir. Music is the backbone of the church. Even when we have not decided upon a minister yet, even when there is no big choir yet, if two or more gather, there will be a song. I want to share with you a little bit about the church history, and there's so much about Black church music that it's almost impossible, but I'm going to give you some starting points so that we can go back and look again. I wrote this book a while back, No Man Can Hinder Me, The Journey from Slavery to Emancipation Through Song. And it's one of my favorites because it just talks about our music and who we are and how music has always been a part of the Black experience. Music has long been a part of my people's culture and traditions. African villages were filled with drumming, the sounds of horns, song, and dance. Music unified people. In music, they rejoiced, recounted their shared history, announced the good news and the bad. Said one African, we are almost a nation of dancers, musicians, and poets. Thus, every great event, such as a triumph or return from battle, or other cause for public rejoicing, is celebrated in a public dance, which is accompanied with song and music. The African and music were one. So people who came to Africa and noticed us and looked at us began to say, my goodness, there's something different about this African music. It was said, one European said that African rhythm is so complicated that it is exceedingly difficult for a European to analyze it. Any piece of European music has at one moment one rhythm in common. A piece of African music always has 2 or 3, sometimes as many as 4. From this point of view, he wrote, European music is childishly simple. And he also noticed how we danced and moved, all of our movements and everything. And he said the twisting, the turning, the contortions and swinging movements exercised in perfect time are wonderful to behold. For these dances, these bodily movements, he says it is physical strength that is required. The movements are so extremely difficult that it would probably kill a European. And as we look now, and I thought about that, and I said, well, that's probably all this movement that these rappers are doing and spinning around on their heads and things and going backwards. I said, that's all that African beat. It's still there. It's still in us. So we want to talk a little bit about the history of our music. That's the cover of the book, No Man Can Hinder Me. Most of us know about the Fish Jubilee Singers. They took the Negro spirituals, which were our sorrow songs that we sang under enslavement. The songs that had double meaning, the songs that didn't have any music. You know, they outlawed our drum, but you know, we're gonna find a way to keep a beat. So we talk about the Fish Jubilee Singers who took those Negro spirituals and took them out into the world. They took them and they sang before audiences here in America as well as Europe. And when white people heard these songs, it's just like, wow, there's just something about these songs. Now, today it's kind of difficult to get some church folk, young people, to sing these spirituals. But they brought us a mighty long way. And these Negro spirituals that they sung, they were able to raise money for their schools. We talk about the Pentecostal movement in the late 1900s and early 20th century. Some folks call it shouting music. It was very expressive. People didn't want no quiet church. They said, oh no, I'm in the wrong place. And usually when we came through the working class, when we moved to the north, we began to see that there was a high church and a show enough church. And my folks wanted to show enough church. So we would have a song, we'd have drums, guitars, music, and they said this came in through the jazz kind of music and the blues kind of music, and folks weren't so sure they wanted that in their church. But I need to ask right now, how many church folk I had in here? Okay, I need some singing. I'm gonna have some people, y'all help me out. Let's just act like we have a church in here, okay? So one of the things that the Pentecostal church brought was the music that had energy. So we said, I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord. I'm a soldier in the well, I'm a sanctified soldier. Said I'm a sanctified soldier. Can we clap it out? Come on, y'all. And it's always a double clap. I mean, cut it. So that was our high church versus our low church. Y'all can tell that little church. We talk about our gospel songs, the Gospel Pearls, published in 1921. And this is some history that I would like to bring back into my church. The hymns that were written by African Americans. When the storms of life are raging, stand by me. I'll overcome someday. These were phrases that our people could understand. You know, with the hymns for you, so everybody could sing. It didn't matter how well you sang. You just put your spirit into it. Tommy Dorsey, he is credited with being the father of gospel music. He came right here from Villa Rica, Georgia. Say amen, somebody. Amen. He was known as Georgia Tom, formerly a blues artist. So when you hear these riffs, like my brother was playing, when you hear these riffs, it's all together. See, honestly, you could be in the blues club on Saturday night and in the choir loft on Sunday morning. Yes, you could. The same music, different venue. So we kept that together. And his style was not always easily welcomed, but some churches finally relented. He really kind of made a business out of it. He had a great person who supported him, Sister Mahalia Jackson. We all know her. And he had another woman who took care of the business, Sally Martin. So you see, black women, sometimes we're not heard as much, but we're right in there. We're singing, and you know we count the money at church because we put in the most money at church. But that's a whole nother sermon. So we have our roles there. A lot of us know Tommy Dorsey from Precious Lord, Take My Hand. His wife had died in childbirth, and his son died shortly thereafter. And he sang that song, and that has become a staple with us in the black church. We talk about our quartets, Caravans, Dixie Hummingbirds, Mighty Clouds of Joy. They had a way of doing music. You know, you get 4 or 5 people together, and they would sing this music. Everybody would find their note. You had the men who could sing falsetto and hit a higher soprano note than I could. You had the women who could sing tenor, leaning on baritone and bass. Filled in where we got it. And the background was usually very simple. They were just repeating, but it was the beat. And they took these songs and they took them across the segregated South and the mean North. The lyrics kept us centered on who we were. We talk about the civil rights movement. That's Dixie Hummingbird. The Albany Singers. These were young people down in Albany, Georgia. And they took the songs that they heard in church and they just kind of revamped them and changed some of the lyrics. So when they sang, woke up this morning with my mind, in the church we say, stayed on Jesus. They said, stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind, and it was stay on freedom. Well, I woke up this morning. Yes, I did. It was stay on freedom. Did you wake up this morning with your mind and tell me what to say on freedom? Say hallelujah. Say hallelujah. Hallelujah. Those who are here, thank you very much. I had the honor of interviewing one of the Albany Singers. And so she was kind of like, well, you know, I was part of the singers and we did a few songs, and she was just hinting to see if I knew. So I just finally said, would you just sing one of those for us? Oh, I'd love to. So it's important that we remember and honor these songs because sometimes it feels as though a generation is losing these songs that brought us through. We talk about just the transition to urban music. Edwin Hawkins. Now, I was younger, but I do remember Oh Happy Day. Do y'all remember Oh Happy Day? Woo! Yeah. Folks got so upset that they were bringing this kind of worldly music into the church. And they started to play it on the radio. And there were like 100 pastors who petitioned against this. But this music had to come up. And so we think about the crossover music and a generation needing to yield to let another generation in. James Cleveland, they said he could sing the telephone book and make a hit. He didn't have the best voice, but he knew how to bring choirs together and how to bring the best out in people. He argued that gospel music could reach people in a profound and powerful way, perhaps even more so than a sermon. To prove his point, he sponsored an annual gospel music convention, which for the first time brought together the best gospel performers. And it remains so with the Gospel Music Workshop of America. Brother James Cleveland, I'm telling you, and you sang one of his songs. Which one did you sing, my brother? Peace Be Still. I'm gonna bring that to my church. Peace Be Still. He just had a wealth and a breadth of music. So we look at what's happening. And I have to get on board because I have one of my my coworkers. She always tells me about Ty Kibbett. Am I saying it right? And they're a new sound. Okay, I heard him on the radio coming to work, and I said, "Amen." I think. I think. I'm not sure what I may have heard Jesus and somewhere in that. Okay, but they're bringing a new sound. Everybody remembers Kirk Franklin and the blues he caught. Oh, when he came out with Stomp. And it's the same. Each generation has to bring its own. It had to bring the blues. It had to bring the jazz. It had to bring Oh Happy Day. It had to bring Stomp. And in the midst of all of that, we still celebrate our strongholds. Yeah. Ooh, y'all some church people. Y'all know who this is. We talk about Rance Allen, who supported everybody, and Mother Shirley Caesar, First Lady of Gospel. Been singing for 70 plus years. Some of her best known, No Charge. Y'all remember that? She told her son came in and said, "You owe me this for this, doing the cutting the lawn and all that." And she just laid it out. For the 9 months I carried you, grow it inside of me, no charge. Or when she ran that down, you put it paid in full. That's your perennial Mother's Day song. Mothers would start acting up. Put it on, let them hear it. And then she also had Hold My Mule. You know, the old farmer went out and he said, "You want to take my land?" He said, "My children have never been in jail. I own all of this. Somebody hold my mule so I can shout." Because, oh, he shouted too much in church. You know, they say that, "Well, now we got guests. Don't y'all get that shouting stuff. Y'all just carry it on." He just a shouting. He said, "I have a lot to thank God for. So hold my mule while I shout." That's just a little bit about Black music. There's so much to go through in a little bit of time. And I just want to, we have a way of singing songs, as you probably gathered, a little differently. So we may do What a Friend We Have in Jesus. We may do it one way. What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. Now, when we get in the Black church, it's going to sound a little different. What a friend we have in Jesus, my Lord, all our sins and griefs to bear. With my eyes and friends. And what a privilege to carry my Lord everything to God in prayer. But there's another way that I don't want the Black church to forget. It's the way we sang it when we were heavy laden. Sometimes we go back to the heavy laden because times will make us feel heavy. What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege 'tis to carry everything to God in prayer. Now come on, but you know we want this, right? Come on, y'all. I see an old deacon down on one knee. Right now, this time. And I see Sister Ella, because she lost her husband, and she's wondering how they gonna make it. What a privilege is to carry everything to God in prayer. Black church music, the music that carried us through. Thank you.
have you had some black church music? Well, I don't know y'all's spiritual level, but I'm telling you, the Holy Spirit's in the house, and I ain't afraid to say so. Hey, won't he do it? All right. So I think in this time of craziness, we are all having a little feeling good with the Spirit and with the black music. With the black music. Thank you so much, Miss Fan. Thank you so very much. Let's raise another fan for Miss Fan. Wonderful presentation. She can sing like a bird. My goodness. You know, we've had so much good singing. We probably had a sermon. I think it may be time to take a collection. I'm kidding. So remember, indicative to the black church, some sayings or songs. I think you've heard all the songs. You've heard all the songs. What are some things that come to mind that reminds you of the black church? Yes. Yes, sir.
God is good.
All the time. All right, I can take a couple more. How about? And she did that. Anything else? Okay, all right. I'm sorry. What is it, sweetie? Turn to your neighbor. What do we want to do? Show your neighbor some love. What is it, sir? The Lord is a man. And I met this man. So that has really Thank you. As my mother used to say, my heart is so full. Today is a beautiful day, everybody. And you are beautiful people for coming to share with us. You seriously are. Our next presenter, our last presenter, is Dr. Marva Carter. Dr. Carter is a historian at Georgia State University and an award-winning author, historian, composer, and organist. You can find her bio in the program. Let's raise your hand and welcome Dr. Marva Carter.
Thank you so much and good afternoon. Y'all must need some popcorn now because I can take you to the movies. We've been to church, but now we'll go to the movies. We're going to be looking at Gone with the Wind this afternoon. Can't do much without these. Okay. So we're going to start with a little clip from Gone with the Wind, just to bring it to your memory.
Gone with the Wind has claim of the entire world.
So, on December 15th, 1939, Atlanta was at the center of the world stage, featuring the movie premiere of the best-selling novel Gone with the Wind. The city easily became ideal for the debut since author Margaret Mitchell was an Atlanta native, and her plot centered around its southern setting. As a young child, Margaret spent many Sunday afternoons on porches or in parlors, listening to family and friends recount stories of the Civil War, which ended 35 years before her birth in 1900. She recalls sitting on the bony knees of veterans and the fat, slippery laps of great aunts as she heard firsthand accounts of battles, disease, deprivation, and loss. The stories were so real that she was 10 years old before hearing the startling news that Robert E. Lee had lost the war. When Macmillan published this manuscript of over 1,000 pages in 1936, it flew off the shelves in record numbers at $3 a volume and sold more than 2 million copies during its first 3 years. Movie producer David Selznick was soon persuaded by his literary representative, Kay Brown, to purchase the movie rights to this Pulitzer Prize-winning book at $50,000, the most ever paid for a first novel by an unknown author. Mitchell quickly informed Selznick, however, that she knew nothing about movie making and would not advise him in this endeavor. The creation of this motion picture was like none other, involving thousands of scene sketches, wardrobe designs, the largest set of 53 buildings and streets to recreate Atlanta, along with 7 Technicolor cameras to film the Atlanta fires, 2,400 extras with numerous animals and vehicles. Mayor William Hartsfield announced a 3-day holiday to mark this historic movie premiere. School children were dismissed from classes and city offices closed to ensure participation in the festivities. There were photographed airport arrivals, welcome speeches, motorcade parades, and homemade confetti showered upon the parade of stars as they made their way through Atlanta's Peachtree Street to the downtown Georgian Terrace Hotel for several days of tours, a ball, interviews, and the best entertainment that Atlanta could offer.
Of the Wind bring Hollywood to Atlanta for a history-making world premiere of the motion picture epic Gone with the Wind. Solemn hospitalities at fever pitch as distinguished visitors arrive, headed by producer David Selznick and screen stars Olivia de Havilland and Vivian Lee. Yes, it's the Clark Gables, just in from the coast. Charming Carol Lombard and friend husband get a mighty welcome. After dark, all Atlanta turns out for the big parade that starts 3 exciting days of celebration. The flower of the South assembles at the Junior League Ball, social highlight of the festivities. Glamorous Vivian Lee takes a bow as heroine Scarlett O'Hara and wins Atlanta's heart. Clark Gable shares the ovation as the dangerous and daring hero, Rhett Butler. Grand March. Governors of neighboring states and notables from all the nations see Atlanta's elite and Hollywood's elect revive the grace and gallantry of the Old South. Climax. A replica of 12 Oaks O'Hara home takes the spotlight as 2,000 privileged guests attend the actual premiere. Atlanta's few remaining boys in gray are guests of honor. Diminutive Margaret Mitchell, the author, who rarely appears in public, attends to see her brainchild and is excited beyond words. It's certainly a night of nights for Miss Lee, the English girl who captured Dixie. They just can't get enough of the Gables, and Clark is his usual modest self.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I'm here just to display.
On December 14th, Atlanta's Junior League hosted a costume charity ball at the Municipal Auditorium, inspired by the bizarre scene in Gone with the Wind, which was designed to financially benefit the Confederates. This event was staged using the actual Hollywood set. The scene featured Clark Gable as Rhett Butler, dancing in the arms of Vivian Lee as Scarlett O'Hara. Onlookers wagged their tongues, while Scarlett, still in mourning for her late husband, Charles Hamilton, agreed to dance with Captain Butler, defying the strict practices of the day.
Oh, who is it? This is Charles Hamilton. Mrs. Hamilton is in mourning, Captain Butler, but I'm sure any of our Atlanta parents would be proud to Dr. Reed. I said Mrs. Charles Hamilton. She will not consider it, sir.
Oh, yes, I will.
They sort of shot the Confederates, Miss Scarlett.
It's a little bit like blockade running, isn't it?
It's worse. I expect a very fancy profit.
Well, I don't care what you expect or what they think. I'm a dancing band. Till I ordered my dance with Abe Lincoln.
Atlanta's Junior League of 400 had been established for more than 20 years as an elite women's voluntary organization consisting of former debutantes, historically aligned with the global and mid-19th century social motherhood movement. Their nurturing mission was to maintain wholesome homes, which were extended into community life. This Junior League chapter distinguished itself in educating physically challenged children by founding a school for speech correction in 1938. At a time when special education was emerging as a state responsibility, the Junior League admirably made provisions for children that the public schools did not or would not serve. Furthermore, they combined their philanthropic mission with the Gone with the Wind premiere by sponsoring a costume ball to raise funds for their speech school and other charities. Guests attending the occasion were transported back in time. There were cannonballs, battle flags, China spittoons, and signs bearing "Down with Yankees" and "Long Live the Confederacy" on display, with dozens of war relics. Every effort was made to capture the atmosphere of the novel. Some dressed in actual costumes worn by the film stars. Others wore Fifth Avenue fashions and heirlooms from their grandmother's attics or trunks. To complete the illusion of the 1860s, there were bustles and hoop skirts, starched petticoats, bare shoulders, satins, swirling chiffons, velvets, and sequins, all along with sideburns and frilled shirts, upstanding collars, and leg of mutton sleeves. Many of the nation's socialites were present, including the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, and the Cromwells. Other national notables, such as millionaire heiress Doris Duke and media executives of Columbia Broadcasting System, the Washington Herald, and the Times were also assembled there. Patrons entered the municipal auditorium to Enrico Leider's orchestrally arranged medleys of Old Kentucky Home, Swanee River carrying me back to Old Virginia, along with waltzes and spirited war songs, climaxing with Dixie. This music conjured up images of the Old South in an imagined, nostalgic way of life that complemented the evening's atmosphere. There were 2,000 reserved seats in the arena and 1,600 in the balcony on a first-come, first-served basis. Every seat in the Horseshoe Auditorium boxes was occupied, reminiscent of the grand opera days of the traveling Metropolitan in Atlanta. Embroidered into the romantically sanitized fabric of the evening was the 60-voice, all-black Ebenezer Baptist Church choir under the direction of L.B. Byron and Mrs. Alberta Williams King, wife of the pastor, Reverend Martin Luther King, Sr. The Hollywood set of 12 Oaks, an old plantation home with white columns, magnolias, boxwood with wisteria were present, giving southern ambiance to the scene. A writer described this segment as one of the most picturesque and moving phases of the program. There was a melodious blending of guitars and humming voices, and then the chorus swung into a choral arrangement of Plenty Good Room, followed by I Want Jesus to Walk With Me, Honor, Honor, and Get On Board Little Children. Dressed in plantation attire, the choir sang these stirring spirituals. The Atlanta Daily World newspaper reported they drew long rounds of applause. Historically, African Americans employed codes, cues, double entendres, and signifiers in public spaces when whites were present to mask meanings beyond their surface appearances. The former slave and abolitionist leader, Frederick Douglass, revealed in his 19th century autobiography the hidden transcripts that slave songs captured unknowingly to the outsider and perhaps even to some insiders. He wrote, "A keen observer might have detected in our repeated singing of O Canaan, sweet Canaan, I am bound for the land of Canaan, something more than a hope of reaching heaven. We meant to reach the north, and the north was our Canaan." Interestingly, the Ebenezer Choir chose to begin its musical interlude with the veiled text of plenty good room, plenty good room, plenty good room in my Father's kingdom. Plenty good room, just choose your seat and sit down. Ironically, these lyrics conveyed an inclusive message regarding heaven, quite opposite racially segregated Atlanta, which had shut out persons of color from such public spaces. The choir could sing the plantation songs dressed as slaves and entertain the white audience, but they couldn't attend the ball, movie premiere, or any of the invitational or ticketed events. The City Fathers banned 100,000 black citizens from any part in its greatest celebration, except as props. Indeed, 200 black butlers and chauffeurs cleared the floor of tables and chairs for the dance that followed. The Plenty Good Room barbed lyrics might have also extended to Hattie McDaniel, the actress who played Mammy in Gone with the Wind so extraordinarily that she received the first Academy Award bestowed to an African American. She and her Black cohorts were advised not to attend the Atlanta festivities for fear that their presence might offend Southern whites. Clearly, their chocolate skin tone deterred them from residing in the hotel, eating in the restaurants, or attending the premiere in Lowe's Grand Theater with their white fellow actors. The syncopated spiritual Get On Board likewise conveyed a welcoming message. Get on board, little children, get on board. Little children, get on board. Little children, there's room for plenty of more. The gospel trains are coming. I hear it just at hand. I hear the car wheels rolling and rumbling through that land. The fare is cheap and all can go. The rich and poor are there. No second class aboard this train. No difference in the fare. This spiritual is layered with multiple meanings. It is a companion to Plenty Good Room, as an inclusive invitation to ride the train. Perhaps the gospel train referred to a locomotive running from earth to heaven. It conveyed, however, a similarity to the metaphorical Underground Railroad, which, as transporting thousands all over slave land to free land, although Africans in America were Christianized by their captors, their songs reveal a different version of the faith in their willingness to welcome everyone on board, whether rich or poor, Black or white. The next spiritual may have brought comfort to the singers as they dealt with the controversy of their performance. I want Jesus to walk with me. I want Jesus to walk with me all along this pilgrim's journey. Lord, I want Jesus to walk with me. Notably, Wesley Dobbs, Atlanta's African-American civic and political leader, was outraged. He considered Ebenezer's performance an affront to racial pride. It is unconscionable that the Ebenezer Choir cooperated, he said. The following week, the Atlanta Baptist Ministers Union concurred with this view, censoring Martin Luther King Sr. for permitting his church choir to perform at a segregated event where dancing also took place. His son, Martin Luther King Jr., then 10 years old, sang with the Ebenezer Choir on this historic occasion. Ironically, one who would be leader of the social revolution that transformed the South was on this night dressed as a pickaninny. At the conclusion of the 3.5-hour movie premiere the following evening, Mayor Hartsfield asked Margaret Mitchell for remarks, and she replied, quote, "This has been a great thrill. I feel it has been a great thing for Georgia and the South to see the Confederate come back," end of quote. Gone with the Wind gave a new generation a sentiment reminiscent of the Confederacy. This movie premiere was one of the largest events in Atlanta's history. To paraphrase Shakespeare, all of Atlanta was a stage. Life was imitating art and art imitating life. The Ebenezer Choir, however, was masking its lyrical message, a practice rooted in African memory through the trickster tradition with its power implications. As they sang words of resistance dressed as slaves, their truth was revealed in their double conscious lore, or what Ibram Kendi calls dual conscious lore. Got one mind for white folk to see, another for what I know is me. Years later, Martin Luther King Jr. recounted a perspective regarding riding a segregated bus, which may be apropos to himself and the Ebenezer Choir at this Gone with the Wind ball. Quote, "I would end up having to go to the back of that bus with my body, but every time I got on that bus, I left my mind up on the front seat. And I said to myself, one of these days, I'm going to put my body up there where my mind is," end of quote. And he did just that as the drum major for justice. The Ebenezer Church Choir was on the world stage in a stereotypical performance role characteristic of the times. The segregated Old South was well represented in Mitchell's nostalgic novel, and a dream of a liberated New South was embodied in young Martin. Likewise, this lad was introduced to Negro spirituals through Ebenezer, and these songs from his ancestral memory became the soundtrack of his march to freedom. This music was so powerful that without it, there might not have been a civil rights movement. In conclusion, cultural critic Bell Hooks has noted, quote, "Collective unmasking is an important act of resistance," end of quote. The song lyrics of the Ebenezer Choir were both a mark of their resistance and their commitment to liberation by claiming the right to signify through song the truth of their reality in spite of their circumstances. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Carter, so much. I have learned so much today, have you? I'm going to take just a couple seconds. I want to hear from you. Just give me like a one-word sentence or a two-word sentence about today. What's in your spirit? What's in your heart? A one-word sentence or a two-word sentence from a couple people. Anybody? Jean. Love. Yes. Glad to be in the number. One more time. Yes, ma'am.
Nobody recognizes that because the original section, the third section, very allegedly as the result of a defect in the furnace, and the congregation was moved out across the tracks to from where it is today. And nobody mentions the family on the river, really the pastor who built the church. And I think if we focus around that, it would be more important.
Thank you.
And I could go on for hours.
No, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your contribution. We want to thank all of you for being here today. You are so special. You are so very special to support the History Center. Please give all of our presenters a hand. Ms. Fan. We invite you to become a member of the DeKalb History Center today. I'm a member. By talking to one of the staff members, they will be in there's Mallory right there at the door. We want to thank Ms. Tiffany Parks, of course, for creating this program. Tiffany called. Tiffany and I started on this months ago. Tiffany will call you or text you anytime of day or night. And for some reason, I get up because I'm always excited about what she's going to put on my plate to do. And it's always a beautiful thing to be here creating something for the History Center. So we want to thank Melissa. All of the DeKalb History Center team. They are phenomenal. They're just all beautiful. We are going
But we're going to follow the ushers and we're going to have dinner in the Harrison. We want to thank you so much for being here. We really, really appreciate it. So in the African American tradition, we're going to have benediction, and you are free to dine and come back in here and enjoy your food. And we're trying to wrap it up. I mean, it'll be wrapped up. We're trying to clean it up. So we're going to bless the food and have the benediction. So we want to thank God for food, bless it. Thank you for the hands that prepared it and for those of us who will partake. And may the Lord watch over between you and me while we absent.